You're watching The Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. Well, guess what, citizens of Gotham, as we try to make our fair city great again, here's what's looming. This was in CNBC.com on September 14th. The next financial crisis, why it is looking like history may repeat itself. And this was written by Victor Lee, professor of economics at the Villanova School of Business. So Victor gets some things right in here, but then, man, there's some company line business, too, that Vic's got disputous. After unprecedented policies by the government to stable financial markets and reverse the economic carnage. Okay, I'm going to stop you right there, Vic. I'm sorry, we're going to... Unprecedented policies by the government to stabilize... You're talking about after 2008? I'm sorry, Professor Lee. No, there was Dodd-Frank. Dodd-Frank was what we would like to call a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. You know, like if you shot someone with a shotgun and their whole stomach was bleeding and you came up with a Band-Aid, that's what Dodd-Frank was, just to clarify. Because what really needed to happen was the bankers needed to go in prison. But you don't mention that in this particular article. I'm sure you're going to write about it later. The economic recovery is approaching its 10th year. Okay, I'm going to talk about that remark real quick. Economic recovery, that's for you and your 1%er buddies. America has the working poor. It has people doing 2 and 3 jobs and still unable to make ends meet. Still unable to pay for their basic necessities. I did a video about people selling plasma. They have 2 and 3 jobs and they're still selling plasma. I know a guy that's a viewer of this show that has a law degree and 2 or 3 jobs and is selling plasma to make rent. So this recovery is for you and your rich buddies at your fancy school. But significant headwinds threaten to undo the progress made in the aftermath of the financial crisis. Oh boy, this language. These concerns can be broken down into 3 key areas: deregulation of the financial sector, uncertainty in the future Federal Reserve policy, you know, that illegal banking cabal, the Federal Reserve, that's not a part of, it's just a bank run by a bunch of rich oligarchs. It's not an actual... You think of the Federal Reserve as like, oh, it's this federally mandated. No, it's just a bunch of, and any president that tried to shut it down got a bullet in the head. And the increased speed of revolving door between Wall Street and Washington, D.C. Oh, you're just now realizing this, Vic? Today, only 6 banks manage half of the assets of the entire banking industry. Currently, 10 banks, including JPMorgan, Goldman Sachs, and Citigroup, own more than 50% of the assets of the top 100 commercial banks. Well, that's not going to be a problem. Among them, JPMorgan has grown by 100% since before the financial crisis. And Bank of America's assets have increased by more than 50% over the last 10 years. This is from CNBC.com, these numbers. I didn't grab this from some hippie website. I didn't get this from Mother Jones or something like that. This is CNBC. This is an economics professor at School of Rich Kid Learn How to Cheat Legally, whatever. 100%. They've grown by 100%. So that's what he was talking about. He's like, the recovery's done well. For these dicks, not for you and me. Have your assets grown by 100% in the last 10 years? Yeah, mine haven't. Yeah, mine haven't. I've recovered a little bit, but I lost my home, which would be worth $1.5 million right now. I'm finally out of debt. I have a little bit of savings, but I had to file my corporate taxes and pay my taxes and put some money in my IRA as per my accountant. And I don't have much, you know, I don't have massive assets like these clowns. Even though the post-crisis requirements like increased capital and stress testing have been good developments, oh God. that is set against the fact that the biggest banks are bigger today than they were 10 years ago. If deregulation leads to worst case scenario, they will fall even harder this time. You know the thing you left out in the requirements? You forgot, there's one requirement you forgot there, Professor Lee. That requirement. Arrest the bankers. You need to do that. That's the one thing that Obama had. That happened. I'm sure Obama was too busy to do this, arrest the bankers. There should be 100 bankers still in federal prison today as a result of that, of ruining people's lives. 5.2 million foreclosures. Of those 5.2 million foreclosures, how many of them have 100% growth? Or at least 50% increase since they lost their home of the 5.2 million people? None? No? They didn't get it? Yeah, let's go back to this then. This is why we're going to have another recession, because we did not do what this gentleman was asking for. I'm sure he lost his house. He had to write the sign on cardboard. By rolling back these regulations and dismantling portions of the Dodd-Frank Act, which was already weak, the Trump administration is removing the safety net and creating a perfect storm that could lead to a crisis even worse than 2008. Yeah, that's true. So this is all true. Trump is doing this. But Obama set it up so he could do this. And Bush set it up. And then he has this like stunning revelation, like nobody knows this. The head of major financial regulatory agencies appointed by Trump have strong ties to Wall Street and have stated their commitment to reversing the regulations implemented since the financial crisis. Among them are Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. You remember Steve Mnuchin, right? He was a hedge fund manager, partner at Goldman Sachs, and before that he ran OneWest Bank. And they did all kinds of illegal shit. They bought my mortgage for 30% of its value, and Kamala Harris, as Attorney General of the state of California, did not prosecute this guy, and could have. She had all of the evidence to prosecute him. This jackass should be in prison. And now this professor is either in on this or is just waking up to how corrupt our government is. Because let me tell you something, Professor Lee. Goldman Sachs has been in every presidential cabinet since Reagan. They've been rigging this for 30 to 40 years, if not longer. Yeah, Trump's being a jackass, but everyone, this was all set up for him. These fucking idiots, I can't read all this. Right, and then this jackass he's a former member at the Fuck You and I'm Richer Than You, and then this fucknut was a part of the vice chairman of Go Fuck Yourself, We Don't Work for a Living, and then he ran the managing director at the fucking Polo Horse renewal fee, and then he has 10 yachts, and you know, Betsy DeVos and him ride around in their 10 yachts because they're assholes. Hey, guess what? This is what happened in 2008. It's happening again. Wake up, Victor. This is coming again because we didn't do that. Thanks for watching.